Hello, BookTube. I'm Scott.
I'm now.
Nella's consuming some wine, and it is. This is our February tops and bottoms. So we're going to do tops and bottoms in lieu of a wrap, and see how it works. So, Nell, for this month, I've picked 4 tops and 2 bottoms to discuss.
Me too.
All right. Shall we start with the bad?
Sure.
Oh, I don't know. The voice was silly. I'm sorry.
I am happy to start with the bottoms.
Yeah.
Is that what we're calling them? Or
The bottoms.
the stinkers?
The stinkers. I feel like tops and bottoms is some sort of gay reference that we're...
Even that's because we watched too much RuPaul.
Um,
Would you like the top bunk or the bottom bunk?
yeah. I feel like saying that our worst books are bottoms is insulting all bottoms out there who are probably
Which is
lovely
inherently misogynist.
people. Yes. Anyway, what was your stinkers? So we'll call them stinkers and
Thinkers.
thinkers.
Stinkers and thinkers.
No genre fiction at the top then.
Genre fiction makes me think sometimes.
I guess.
It might make me think it's stupid. But it might make me think thoughts.
Okay. So, what was your first stinker?
Under the Udalla tree was a stinker.
We did that. This is a buddy read with Courtney.
Is it one of your stinkers?
It's not one of my stinkers, but it really just narrowly misses out.
Yeah. It was just... I feel like we've read a little bit of fiction set in this time period lately, and this was disappointing in so many ways.
So we're talking post Biafran War Nigeria.
Or mid Biafran War. Biafran War adjacent Nigeria.
Yeah. I'm not sure it is the Biafran War. I think I've misspoken. But
Scott
anyway,
may have named a war a
I
different
think
name.
it might be the Nigerian Civil War.
Potentially.
But I think we all know.
But when we're talking about Biafra, yeah. We know what we're talking about. Do you know what we're talking about? Anyway, I think it just didn't do a very good job of building tension, and it didn't do a very good job of exploring fully any of its ideas. And it did a very bad job of explaining why characters suddenly completely did a 180 on their actions.
Yeah, I felt like the author had a plot and then didn't make me believe her plot.
Yeah, it was very difficult to believe some of the choices that the characters made. It was very difficult to believe a lot of the things, actually.
Yeah. There were good points of this novel as well, but
Totally,
I think the bad...
It was ultimately of actually a very successful group of novels set in this sort of around this period that we've read recently. It was a standout for not being as good as the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my first bottom, I gave 2 stars to The Prophets by... Is it Robert Jones Jr. or Robert James Jr.? I don't know. Anyway, I feel like in this novel, he gave us Toni Morrison, he gave us Zora Neale Hurston, he gave us Alex Haley, he gave us James Baldwin, but you know the one author he didn't give us? Himself.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with that. I actually DNF'd this book, and while I haven't listed it as one of my stinkers, I've put it down for a bit, but I'm not sure I'm ever coming back to it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hope in his next novel, I hope he doesn't try and... I hope if he's going to imitate the classic authors, that he picks one.
Instead of several.
And I really hope I really hope that we get to see some of his writing.
I definitely... My greatest problem with it was a lot of the thematic discussion appeared in big chunks and wasn't sort of integrated with the plot or the character work. And so it was like this weird switching between reading about things that progressed the book in terms of plot and character development and thematic chunks.
Yeah.
It was strange.
What's your next bottom?
My next bottom is Saga, Volume 1.
Oh.
Sorry, Kieran. I think I'm still going to read Saga Volume 2 at this point.
Yeah.
Mainly because of the female booktubers that have recommended Saga as a whole. Make me think that maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like if you were writing a book or a series of comics and your target audience was feminists, then you wouldn't start with irredeemably misogynist characters and settings. And if you did start with that and you wanted to show like a growth of character, like a development from misogynist to not misogynist, then you'd give some inkling of that in Volume 1 to keep those people who don't really like misogynists reading in Volume 2. And I didn't feel like I got an inkling that the misogyny was going to die. There's lots of internalized misogyny from the female characters. There's lots of subtle undertones of objectivization and blah, 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 blah.
I thought what you had was foreshadowing of misogyny.
Yeah, Scott seems to think it's going to get worse from here, which terrifies me.
I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I think that it is a foreshadowing of what's to come so that we can understand the character's position before they address their faults.
Potentially. But I think that this is in my stinkers because I'm not the intended audience. I suspect the intended audience is people who are not yet converted to feminism and need a little nudge.
Like Tremaine Greer.
Yeah. Or people who don't really understand how pervasive misogyny actually is. And that's not me, because I'm a lady.
All right. My other stinker was The Sound of Things Falling by Juan Gabriel Vasquez. This book was the opposite of well written.
Oh.
Yeah. When I didn't speak nicely of it in my Goodreads, I gave it 1 star. And somebody said that they really liked it. I just can't get the writing was so boring, and the plot didn't help that. I didn't get on with it. It wasn't for me. And it didn't there was no point I looked at it and gone, well, this is horrible, but I was just cheering down to the end, nothing's getting resolved or said or anything come on the end. So that was my worst book for the month, excluding my DNF, which I'm not going to mention. Yeah. All right. But in order to not dwell on the negative, I've picked 4 positives.
4! I also have 4.
Would you like to start?
Yes. I'd just like to take a moment to note that my 4 positives are an amorphous blob and not at all ranked, because these are just books that gave me happy feelings. I don't rank books. I don't give books star ratings. Scott is much more likely to do something linear.
I'm ranking mine. I'm going to give you 4-1.
Right.
All right, now what's number 4 on your list?
The first one I'd like to talk about in my amorphous blob is When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain. The Singing Hills Cycle number 2. It's the sequel to The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nevo. I loved this. It was so good. Shape-shifting tigers. The complexity of history and who it's recorded by and what that does to bias, and how storytellers, what obligations storytellers have to counteract bias or to seek out additional sources, and mammoths, like big hairy elephants. And it was so good. It was really enjoyable. It had lots of thinky stuff and lots of feely stuff. It was good.
So you liked it because it had mammoths in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, I don't have much to say because I didn't...
I'm going to reduce you to a sentence too.
Sorry. My 4th favourite book of the month was Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. This is a classic which I'm sure a lot of people have read already, but it focuses on this character David and his relationship with people, most notably Giovanni, who is clearly a gay man, and David is coming to terms with his sexuality. What is interesting in this novel is that David is such an insufferable, horrible prick of a human being. And everybody else that he interacts with is certainly, in comparison, lovely, wonderful people. And the contrast of it was really interesting, and it allowed Baldwin to discuss things like the self-hating homosexual and this like level of internalized homophobia that people have to overcome before they out themselves as gay. And essentially this is the story of a man dealing with his internalized homophobia, and it's very hard to write that without him being a complete and utter arsehole, but that's what he is. On top of that, we have Giovanni, who we know is about to be executed, but we don't know why, and we're hearing the story as to why that's happening. It's such a complex and good story, this one.
So you liked it because you saw yourself in the cunty character.
How long have you been waiting to say that?
The whole time you were talking. Just didn't listen to anything you said. Reduced it to one sentence and didn't absorb anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, what's your next book that you liked because of elephants?
Don't get a husband. They're just rude. The next one that I liked was A Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. I listened to Ring Shout as an audiobook. I suspect I will revisit Ring Shout. It was awesome. It was richly charactered. It was plotted well, pacey. Fun in a weird monster hunting anti-Ku Klux Klan kind of way. It's about the KKK actually being monsters and monster hunters. just delicious fantasy that allows us to enjoy that sort of fantasizing about killing bad guys without feeling like bad guys because the bad guys are really monsters. Like, I just... In an age where bigotry is very outspoken, it was cathartic. But that's not the value in it. That was just the bonus. I think that it discussed lots of things and it was...
The real value was the pachyderms?
There was no pachyderms.
Oh, okay. Sorry. This joke is getting tedious. I'll stop doing it now. It sounds quite metaphorical.
There was lots of metaphor and stuff, but there was also like just flat out discussion of racism and hatred and bigotry and the difference between the hatred that black people feel towards white people and the hatred that white people feel towards black people.
Oh.
Yeah, like super interesting.
That's curious. I really like that as a thing to explore.
But all in the context of like an adventure fantasy novel. It was good. It was good. You should read it.
Genre fiction with literary oomph.
And just like... Okay, I'm in a really privileged position because I'm white and I live in Australia. So the racial tension that is the US environment or living as a coloured person anywhere in the world is an intellectual thing to me, and that is really privileged. But this brought so many ideas surrounding those issues up and forced you to empathise with them. It was great. It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3 on my list is The Trumpet Major by Thomas Hardy.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, I picked on you for elephants. I think Hardy is a fair retaliation. Do not. There we go, buddy.
They weren't even elephants, they were mammoths.
Yeah.
Hardy. Yep.
Um.
Who did he brutalise this time? Just the poor and downtrodden? Just the weak and unprotected?
The Trumpet Major.
Oh, the Trumpet Major. Got Shatterbot.
I think Hardy's quite interesting with his love triangles, and I like that he has 3 for this lady.
3 triangles.
3 suitors.
Oh, so it's a square.
No, it's a fork.
It's a fork.
It's a fork.
Okay.
Like a pitchfork.
Okay.
What is interesting is one of the suitors is not going to win. It's very clear that one of the suitors is not going to win because that suitor is an asshole who doesn't understand about consent.
Right.
And Hardy is not going to reward that sort of shit.
Good.
But he has 2 brothers fight for this girl. And the 2 brothers are like, I don't want to, if you like her, I will like die with my love for her unfulfilled and you can have her. And the other brothers are, no, you do it. I will die unfulfilled. And then the woman is like, well, if you're happy to give me away, go fuck yourself.
Seems fair. Also, if you're happy to not care about my opinion about who I should be with, then go fuck yourself.
Yes. So this is essentially the story of 3 people that can't get their shit together and 1 borderline rapist.
He doesn't sound very borderline.
It's really about whether he gets away with it or not.
Right.
I mean, I could call him an unsuccessful rapist.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. It was not the finest Hardy novel I have read, but it was a really good Hardy novel. So, yeah. And I'm still annoyed that the names were so mundane.
No, there was no
Yeah.
Eustatius.
Anne Garland.
Yeah, it's pretty bland.
That's not a Hardy heroine. Elfrida, Cytherea, Bathsheba, like it just doesn't fit. Anyway, what's your next one?
My next one is The Death of Vivek Oji, which was our book club pick for the month. And it was delicious.
So we're doing this out of order. This was my best book of the month.
Oh, so we need to discuss it together.
Yeah, that's why I was suggesting we did it last, because it would be together.
Easier for you, yeah.
I know.
Sorry. I fucking loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. We will definitely be doing a full book review of this. But for me, this was so many steps above everything else I've read this month. This is just what good literature is, in my opinion.
It was smashing. It was surprising in plot. It was rich in character development. It was rich in like the things that you can talk about after this book. I don't feel like we've chased down a single idea to even the halfway point, because there's so many ideas that have come up in our discussion group. It is just so full of human discovery.
What Amazing is incredible at is seeing where different ideas intersect each other and talking about that intersection in such a vague way that you don't know whether they're talking about being a woman or being gay, for example.
They are no Steinbeck.
No,
It's like the
they're
opposite of Steinbeck, who picks like his one little weapon that he's going to smack you over the head with for the whole fucking novel. Whereas I feel like Okwekie Amazing is the opposite of that. They just put all their characters in these fucked up positions so that you're like dissecting a chessboard.
Yeah. The possibilities,
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless. And the other thing that was interesting is that this really starts with the end, which should take tension out of the book and let you, but it doesn't.
It didn't, yeah.
In fact, it actually added tension because you knew the title is The Death of Vivek Oji.
I feel like it's the same as when you read Kindred and the first scene is
her coming back from the past.
Her losing her leg.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're like, what? Like, why do you have an amputated leg? What is going on?
It's going to make it very hard for you to run around away from those slaves.
Yes. Yeah, especially when you have an idea of the synopsis. It should take the wind out of the sails when they do that. But it does the exact opposite. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was incredible. 5 stars.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed our discussion of it more, and even more, I really enjoy the generosity of Okwekie Amazing when they publish anything. They go and do 10,000 discussions about it on YouTube, and the ability to look that up and enjoy their perspective is... I really like that. That's delightful.
Well, speaking of Okwekie Amazing, what is your last top book for the month?
It's not my top book. Amorphous Blob, not a ranking.
Yeah. You had 4 top books that you were
Oh,
discussing.
my last top book. Yeah, okay. Pet is the other one. That's the last Akwaeke Amazing that I had available to read for the first time, and I audiobooked it. It's a YA novel, so it's probably not quite the complexity that...
Yeah, I think Akwaeke took complexity out of Pet, but I think that added...
But it was... Yes, absolutely. It was really rich. The story was rocking. Again, a sort of like cathartic bad guy hunt, like much like Ring Shout. It had that sort of level of catharsis. That was cool. I really enjoyed Pet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read it when I was a little bit brain dead and I wasn't expecting a lot from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, what did I get myself in for here?
It's a lot for a YA, but still really within that scope of young adult understanding and young adult specific issues.
It was the perfect demonstration to me that young adult does not necessarily mean that it's not a book I can enjoy. Like,
yeah, young adult does not actually equal shit.
yeah, it demonstrated to me how it can be well done. So
I definitely felt that it was appropriate rather than diluted.
yeah, the market was a young adult, but that doesn't mean that it won't appeal to other people.
Yeah. Very heavy on the sort of sci-fi as opposed to Akwaeke's other works. But still, I think I think there's a valid conversation now that we've both read all 3 of the threads that run through all 3 works and the similarities, and I think we might have to make that video.
Yeah, but I don't think that we can have that conversation here. I don't think that we have the length or the research that needs to be done beforehand.
Also, I've had too many of these.
She's on to her second bottle.
Shut up! Don't tell them I'm a drunkard. It's Sean's fault.
My last book to discuss and my second favourite is Woman at Point Zero by Noelle El Sawadi.
Is that your best book?
That's my second best book.
Okay.
You feel yourself quite smug.
No?
Yeah, so this is the story.
This is a story of a lovely lady
Yeah.
who's bringing up 2 boys of her own?
No.
No?
No. This is the story of a lady or girl who becomes a lady. We get to see quite a bit of Ferdress's life. Mm-hmm. She is basically brutalized by everybody she comes into contact with. Most of those people are men, not all of them. They all take advantage of her. She ends up becoming a prostitute, and she says, of all the choices in my life, prostitution gives me the best answer, best life, because I'm basically a prostitute in everything I do. At least this way I'm earning money for it.
Excellent.
And she's like, and even though I'm having sex with men, I'm not subject to them. And that was a really interesting discussion, and it just made me realize just how fucked women are in Egypt, and in some of those countries where they have absolutely no say in society and their role in society is minimalized. and it just made me think she was seen. Yeah, so I thought that was really good. Yeah, I had a really good discussion in the comments when I mentioned this in the Friday Reads with Tilly about the comparison between this book and Tess of the D'Urbervilles, and I thought that that was such a good comparison that I just wanted to mention it in the video so that other people could
go and find Tilly and harass her about it because she's written about it.
Yeah, if you've read both of them, you know, you'll sort of go, oh, yeah. And if you haven't read both of them,
maybe that's a good pairing.
yeah, it really is. And it's really weird that a male Victorian writer and a female Egyptian writer, like modern Egyptian writer, would have so much in common, but written a story with so much in common, rather. But they have.
Interesting.
Well, that's our tops and bottoms for the month. We have read a whole bunch of other books, and I might just put a list up here to show you. All of these books are somewhere in the middle. These are the other books.
The other ones.
Yeah, so the books that we didn't deem worthy of discussing.
If you want to chat about any of the books that we've mentioned or any of the books on the Magic Unmentionable list, jump in the comments and get chatting. If you ever want a buddy read, give us a shout out. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and all of those good YouTubian things.
Yeah, and let us know, do you prefer tops and bottoms to a wrap?
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.